You're scrolling through apartment listings again. Coffee going cold beside your laptop at midnight. Rent just went up another $200 and your landlord barely blinked. Somewhere in the back of your mind, a voice keeps whispering that you're wasting money. Buy a house, everyone says, before prices climb even higher than they already have. But then you check your savings account and reality hits you like cold water. Down payments, closing costs, property taxes, they all sound like a foreign language. So you freeze, caught between two choices that both feel financially terrifying right now. Here's the truth nobody explains clearly. Renting versus buying isn't really about money first. Most people treat this decision like a moral test, as if renting means failing. Society quietly taught us that owning a home equals becoming a real adult. That belief didn't come from math. It came from decades of cultural conditioning. Your grandparents bought homes when incomes and housing prices actually made sense together. Today, wages grew slowly, while home prices in many cities nearly doubled or tripled. So comparing your situation to theirs isn't fair, and it isn't even accurate. Renting isn't throwing money away, and buying isn't automatically a smart investment either. Both are financial tools, and each one fits different seasons of your life. The real question isn't which choice is right, but which choice fits you. Family gatherings often turn into quiet interrogations about when you'll finally buy something. Well-meaning relatives unfairly compare your progress to their own experience decades ago. Their advice comes from love, even when the economic context has changed completely. You're allowed to nod politely while still trusting your own careful financial judgment. Think about how the phrase American dream got attached specifically to owning property. That phrase was partly marketing, born from suburban expansion after World War II. Banks, builders, and government policy all pushed homeownership as the ultimate financial goal. That push worked, but it also created guilt for anyone still renting today. Understanding that history helps you separate marketing from your actual financial reality now. Let's talk about the actual math, because numbers cut through emotional noise fast. Say you're paying $2,000 a month in rent somewhere in America. A comparable mortgage payment might land around $2,500 monthly today. That extra $500 covers property taxes, insurance, maintenance, and loan interest. Here's the part most people forget. Homes require constant, unpredictable financial attention too. A broken water heater doesn't care about your budget or your emotional readiness. When the overall economy grows, your basket of companies tends to grow right along. That single difference changes how safe or exposed you feel financially every month. Now let's talk about equity. The word everyone uses, but few fully understand. Equity simply means the portion of your home you actually truly own outright. Early in a mortgage, most of your payment goes toward interest, not equity. It can take years before you're building real ownership instead of paying interest. Meanwhile, renters can invest that extra cash difference into retirement accounts like a 401k. Compound interest doesn't care whether your money sits in stocks or in property. It just grows quietly, patiently, rewarding whoever started investing consistently and stayed disciplined. This is where psychology sneaks back into a conversation people assume is pure math. Owning a home feels emotionally secure, even when the numbers don't fully support that. Renting feels temporary, even when it's actually the smarter, more flexible financial decision. That emotional gap explains why so many people buy homes before they're ready. They're not chasing numbers. They're chasing a feeling of stability and quiet permanence. There's nothing wrong with wanting stability, but stability shouldn't come from financial pressure. A mortgage you can barely afford creates a different kind of anxiety entirely. Suddenly you're house rich but cash poor, stressed every single time something breaks. That stress quietly affects relationships, sleep, and how present you feel with family. Think about two coworkers, both earning similar salaries in the same city. One buys a house at 28, stretching every paycheck to make it work. The other keeps renting, investing the difference steadily into a simple index fund. 10 years later, their financial outcomes depend entirely on choices, not the label. The homeowner might have solid equity, but limited cash and constant maintenance bills. The shift is realizing that your future self is counting on your current decisions. Neither person made a mistake. They simply optimized for different financial priorities entirely. That's the part financial influencers rarely mention when they preach one universal answer. Financial experts often mention something called the 5-year rule for home buying. If you won't stay in one place for 5 years, renting usually makes sense. Selling a home early often erases any equity gains through fees and commissions. Realtor fees alone can quietly eat away 6% of your total sale price. That's real money disappearing simply because timing didn't align with your life circumstances. There's another angle worth considering: how rent tends to rise nearly every year. A fixed-rate mortgage locks your core housing payment for the entire loan term. Meanwhile, landlords adjust rent based on local demand, inflation, and rising property values. Over enough years, that gap between fixed payments and rising rent can widen significantly. But that protection only matters if you actually stay long enough to benefit. Short-term stability sometimes outweighs long-term savings, depending on your current life. Here's the mindset shift that quietly changes how people approach this entire decision. Step 3 is opening a Roth IRA if your income qualifies you for that option. Start asking which option protects your peace of mind during this specific season. Psychologists call this loss aversion, where losing money hurts more than gaining equally. That's why watching rent payments disappear feels more painful than paying loan interest. But loan interest disappears too. It just hides inside a monthly mortgage statement. Recognizing that bias helps you make decisions from logic instead of pure emotion. Money decisions aren't just spreadsheets. They're really decisions about stress and daily freedom. A home doesn't make you responsible, and renting doesn't make you financially behind. Your 20s and 30s often involve career moves, relationship changes, and shifting priorities. Flexibility during unstable years can matter more than equity you can't easily access. Later, when life feels settled, buying might genuinely become the right emotional decision. The turning point isn't choosing sides, it's choosing timing that actually fits you. So, how do you actually apply this without feeling overwhelmed by every decision? Start by calculating your true monthly housing cost, not just the sticker price. Include taxes, insurance, maintenance, and closing costs before comparing anything to your rent. Then honestly ask yourself how long you plan to stay in one place. If you're unsure, that uncertainty itself is valuable financial information worth taking seriously. Keep an emergency fund separate from any down payment savings you're currently building. Owning a home without cash reserves turns small repairs into genuine financial emergencies. If renting fits your life right now, keep investing consistently instead of feeling behind. Consistency in a retirement account often outperforms rushing into a home too early. There's no perfect age or deadline for buying a home in America today. Talk with a fee-only financial advisor if the numbers still feel confusing to you. Run your own numbers using free online rent versus buy calculators before deciding anything. Compare at least 3 different scenarios based on how long you might stay. Remember that your credit score also affects the mortgage rate you'll actually receive. A stronger credit profile can save you thousands of dollars over a loan's lifetime. So take a breath, because this decision isn't as urgent as social pressure suggests. You're not behind, and you're definitely not failing but choosing to rent longer. Every financial choice you make can be adjusted later as your life changes. Homeownership isn't a finish line, and renting isn't a waiting room for adulthood. They're simply 2 different paths that both require patience, planning, and honest reflection. Money stress often comes from comparing your timeline to someone else's highlight reel. Your neighbor buying a house doesn't mean your renting decision is somehow wrong. Real financial peace comes from decisions that match your income, goals, and comfort. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need one honest step forward. Progress in this journey always matters more than achieving some imaginary financial perfection. So, whether you rent this year or buy, keep moving forward with intention. Whatever you decide, you're allowed to change your mind as circumstances evolve. Financial decisions aren't permanent tattoos. They're living choices you can revisit anytime. Give yourself credit for even thinking this carefully about your financial future today. This isn't about winning some imaginary competition against friends, family, or strangers online. It's about building a financial life that feels steady, sustainable, and genuinely yours. That quiet, consistent progress is what actually builds a life you feel good in.